During development of the bipartisan infrastructure law, we focused on the delays that have plagued already authorized settlements, and we created the Indian Water Rights Settlement Completion Fund and provided $2.5 billion to help complete settlements that had been approved but lacked funding to move forward. 17 settlements received support from that fund, finally finishing work that had been pending for years or even decades. The bill that we are considering today, the Northeastern Arizona Indian Water Rights Settlement Act, is a reminder that that job is not done.
Welcome to Western Water Weekly, your source of plain-spoken news highlights from the Colorado River Basin states.
Oh, come on. It's not that bad, is it?
So what you're looking at there is the forecast from NOAA and the Climate Prediction Center that was issued on Thursday. And this is what we're looking at all week, is just extremely hot temperatures in the west. And it looks like it even goes all the way across over to the Midwest. So here's an article we published that kind of went through NOAA's reports about what is happening. You're looking at through the west, 15 to 30 degrees above normal. The Climate Prediction Center says there's a 90% chance that this is going to happen. California has already been issuing heat advisories, temperatures in the 90s. I've seen some reports where they're talking about in the hundreds in Southern California. Arizona, they're predicting dramatic swings down in Phoenix, 90 to 100 degrees. I've seen some reports that they're predicting 105 in Phoenix next week, 100 in Tucson. And this is March. This is awful. Over Nevada, New Mexico, southern Nevada, 20 degrees above normal. New Mexico, 15 to 25 degrees above their average temperatures. Utah is looking at an insane 20 to 30 degrees above normal, and they've really been suffering with a lack of snowpack. Colorado and Wyoming, it's kind of the same trend. It'll cool down a little bit, but then all of a sudden, everything is getting hot. And so this outlook suggests that between March 18 through March 26, it's also going to be hot.
So results today, our snow survey resulted in 28 inches of depth and 11 inches of water content. So we gained a little bit from last month. Last month we were about 8 inches here of water content. That really translates, if we melted this all down, to about a foot of water that's sitting here on this meadow. The averages for today, 47% of average for this date, and 45% of the April 1st average at this location. And those numbers are really close together, telling me that this particular location doesn't necessarily expect a large accumulation over the month of March. We hope that's different this year, because we're a little bit behind. I'll get into that in a little bit. But as Jason said, we compare to the April 1st average because that's typically when we peak, when the snow stops accumulating and the melt rate is greater than the accumulation rate. Is it always April 1st? No. There's many times when the peak is earlier or later than April 1st. But on average, over a 30-year average, we peak around April 1st. I specifically recall back in 2006, we had a very big Easter snowstorm, snowed in 6 feet in the middle of April. And so we can still have those, but we can't count on them. They're rare, but they do happen. Based on this morning's data from our automated snow sensor network across the state, we sit at 66% of average for this day. So the statewide average is higher than we are at this location.
So here's the latest drought monitor map that was released also on Thursday. And you can see it's pretty much mild to moderate drought, covering most of the western states, and you've got some splotches of red. That's the exceptional, really bad drought. California looks halfway decent, although they said that the latest measurements, let me see what the number is so I could give it to you correctly here. The Sierra Nevada snowpack recently measured that we just saw in that last video was only about 66% of average. So the problem with a loss of precipitation, no snow, no snow melt, is that this is going to affect the flow into the Colorado River. And for those that may not know, the Colorado River Basin is divided into the upper and lower basin states. So you have at the top Wyoming, Colorado, Utah, and then New Mexico is also considered part of the upper basin states. Then the lower basins are Nevada, California, and Arizona. And the problem with that is that the states did not reach an agreement by the February 14 deadline to be able to come up with the post-2026 operating plan for the Colorado River. And so you've seen all kinds of different reports. One that's illustrative of the upper basin states is Colorado. They literally sent in their letter to the Bureau of Reclamation about the federal guidelines that were created by the federal government since the states couldn't agree on anything. It literally is 59 pages long. But the gist of what Colorado was saying, and that's pretty much in line with what all of the upper basin states are saying, is that the plans need to recognize the fact that there's less water flowing through the system. And so any kind of plan that's brought up by the federal government needs to do that. But just look at the size of this thing. It's just huge. And anyway, it's still trying to load there. Meanwhile, in Arizona, we're seeing a few of these kind of scary videos about what is happening in the state. What I have here is from the Central Arizona Project.
Arizona is being unfairly targeted for reductions of Colorado River water that would cripple our state, flatten our economy, and weaken our nation's defense. Every proposal being considered disproportionately hurts Arizona. We've done our part. Arizona has conserved more than any other state to protect the river. These proposals could wipe Central Arizona Project off the map, shutting off the water that supports over 6 million Arizonans and 11 tribal communities. Community leaders are standing up to protect Arizona's lifeline. Now it's your turn to fight for your water. If you don't think Arizona should take unfair cuts to water we have a legal right to and have relied on for 40 years, make your voice heard now. Join the pledge to protect Arizona's lifeline.
So this was asking people to please contact the Bureau of Reclamation and comment on the draft environmental impact statement that it had come up with for the operating plan. And then the Republican delegation for Arizona wrote to the Secretary of Interior, and they were much more blunt and to the point than the 59-page one out of Colorado. But basically, what they're saying is that this just will be devastating for the state of Arizona if the current plan that's being used, that is being proposed, is the one that the feds decide to go with. So this is a fight that we're going to be seeing going on for quite some time, until I think the federal government said that is going to try to issue something by October. That's when the plan is supposed to be out, but God knows if that's going to happen. So while everybody dukes it out over the Colorado River plan, there's some activity going on in the states. One of these that's pretty interesting is in Wyoming. And as you can see on the screen here, they have introduced the Voluntary Water Conservation Program. And basically, this allows farmers who are in that portion of the state that's within the Colorado River Basin, they can voluntarily conserve their water and store this in one of the reservoirs on the Green River that's called Fontenelle Reservoir. And what's good about this is most of the western states have a use it or lose it type of law in place. So if you don't use your water generally 5 years, it may be different amongst different states, but if you don't use your water, you're subject to abandonment or forfeiture proceedings, and those surface water rights are really valuable. So if they can, use less water or not even use any and store it in this reservoir, that could be helpful for the system at large. And what happened, this was introduced in, I think it was like early February. And anyway, it was signed into law. It became effective March 7th. So that's what's going on in Wyoming. Let's take a look at California. Federal officials with the Bureau of Reclamation recently released the first water allocations for the Central Valley Project, one of the largest water systems in the world. Contractors north of the Sacramento-San Joaquin Delta will receive 100% of their water supplies, but irrigation districts south of the Delta will initially receive only 15% of the contract allocations. And of course, this huge contrast has really triggered some criticism from ag leaders in the San Joaquin Valley, who say the reduced allocation could force farmers to rely more heavily on groundwater pumping or just leave their farmland idle. And in fact, we find that, let me find them here, California's Adam Gray from District 13 and Jim Costa, California 21, issued the following statement.
We are not happy. With substantial snowpack this winter and multiple recent years of strong precipitation that have helped lift California out of drought, the initial allocation is not justified. The president claimed he could deliver more water, and yet that pledge rings hollow today. The Trump administration's allocations are offensive to the farmers of the San Joaquin Valley, one of the most productive agricultural regions in the world. This administration needs to move forward immediately with higher allocations and bring more water to the valley like they promised.
Arizona recently announced an important development in its effort to manage water growth. The State Department of Water Resources approved a 100-year assured water supply designation for the Arizona Water Company in Pinal Valley service area. It's the first new designation of its type in the Pinal Active Management Area in more than 20 years. And active management areas are areas where the state is regulating groundwater. You have to, if you are domestic and have like pump 35 gallons per minute, you don't have to report your water use, but anything over that, you do have to do that. So anyway, under state law, developers must prove that water will be available for at least 100 years before new subdivisions can move forward. And the designation was approved through a policy known as the alternative designation of assured water supply. So state officials say this designation will support tens and thousands of new homes in Pinal County, Arizona. So again, it comes down to, how do people know what's going to happen 100 years from now? But they do have some pretty rigorous criteria to be able to do these things, but I'm interested in your thoughts. So there are some federal initiatives that in particular are going to help some of the rural interests. One of these is called this thing called the Real Water Technical Assistance Initiative. And it's basically, the EPA has characterized this as getting back to basics. And the point of it is to help small communities that don't have a big staff, a lot of technical assistance, they don't have a lot of money. The EPA is trying to help them to be able to comply with the Safe Drinking Water Act. And there's been quite a bit of support for this. Let me see who some of the people that were here. The National Rural Water Association likes it, the Rural Community Assistance Partnership, the Association of State Drinking Water Administrators, and the National Association of Clean Water Agencies. So it seems overall to be kind of a good thing.
We don't have a farm bill yet.
The Farm Bill is important for farmers and ranchers. We all know that.
But what about everyone else?
What about your neighbors?
What about your children, your grandchildren?
What about you?
Whether you live on a farm or not, the Farm Bill affects you.
At the House Committee on Agriculture, we've been talking about the Farm Bill for years.
Sometimes it feels like that's all we talk about.
But that's because a new Farm Bill is important.
Good agricultural policy breaks down barriers to entry
and gives farmers the tools they need to be successful.
When farms and ranches thrive, it's good for everyone.
It means full shelves at the grocery store,
lower prices at the checkout counter,
and a more stable supply chain across the world.
Stable farms means stable food prices for all of us.
The Farm Bill increases efficiency and lowers costs for producers through investments in science and technology.
By promoting innovations like precision agriculture, the Farm Bill helps farmers put more food on the table
while using fewer inputs like fuel and fertilizer, and at the same time
improving water quality and soil health.
A new Farm Bill will also address patchwork state regulations that overburden producers,
bring chaos to the interstate marketplace,
and take away farmers' bottom lines.
But the Farm Bill affects so much more than just the cost of food.
Its programs work to lower energy, housing, and household costs in rural areas,
making sure the heartland of America
doesn't get left behind.
A new Farm Bill means certainty for farmers, ranchers, and everyone else.
Certainty about being around for next year's planting season.
Certainty about being able to feed your family.
Certainty about Americans being able to feed Americans.
At the end of the day, you can't talk about affordability without talking about food.
And you can't talk about food without talking about the Farm Bill.
So let's talk about the Farm Bill.
We should all be talking about the Farm Bill.
Whether you live in a red or a blue state.
Whether you live in a farm or a city.
Whether you can name all 12 titles of the Farm Bill,
or whether this is your first time hearing about it.
Passing a new Farm Bill affects your life.
Passing a full 5-year Farm Bill isn't just about delivering for farm country.
It's a comprehensive plan to bring down the cost for every American.
And updates policy to meet current needs.
And Congress is ready to get to work.
Tell your elected officials,
it's time to get the Farm Bill done.
So the House Committee on Agriculture is really touting this bill. And we've got, 230 organizations are in support of the Farm Bill. There are some things that are going to help rural water infrastructure, irrigation improvements, and drought resilience programs. So you heard the House's, saw the House's video. I know that there are some that are quite critical of this bill. I haven't looked into that much. I'm just more interested in the water stuff. And it looks like it might help out some of the small communities once again. So this is a really big deal. It's settling these Indian water right disputes. And as you saw in the opening video, little clip for this video, I showed the introduction to the oversight hearing on the Northeastern Arizona Indian Water Rights Settlement Act of 2025, and that is a huge settlement. I know personally from working on it, not as a negotiator, but just somebody providing some support. This has been in the works since probably, I think it was like in the 1990s. We saw the first version of it. didn't make it through, but it will settle the water right claims of the Navajo Nation, the Hopi tribe, and then the San Juan Southern Paiute, which currently do not have like their own tribal land. They will be given their land, so they'll finally have somewhere that they can call home. And what's really good about these things is that it's just a cloud on your title. If you've got these, the natives typically have senior rights to all the water in the system, but they don't have the money to move that water to the reservation or use it. But it creates, for the surrounding communities, there's always this like threat that, oh my gosh, I could lose my water unless we settle with the Native Americans. So it's a really big deal, and it has a ton of support. But as usual, we have problems. And the problem is that this bill, let me see if this will come up. I apologize for a really slow internet out here. What is his name? Cameron. I don't remember his first name. Scott Cameron. He's with the Bureau of Reclamation. And this settlement bill comes with a price tag of about $5 billion with a B dollars. And Cameron is basically saying, well, I support the bill, but I don't know if we can pay for this. Let me see. Okay, this seems to be up again now. But let me show you specifically what Cameron said. While the department supports the goals of Senate Bill 953 and recognizes the importance of delivering reliable drinking water to the tribes, it has several concerns, including the cost of the settlement. The department recognizes the tribe's efforts to address the risk of cost increases and is committed to working with the tribes, the sponsors, and the committee to identify opportunities to reduce the overall cost of the settlement. But their concluding remark in written testimony was the department has significant concerns with the overall cost and looks forward to working with the parties, sponsors, and committee to reach agreement on these remaining issues. So that one we're watching pretty closely. And another one in Arizona is it's down by Camp Verde, that area, Cottonwood. If you know where Sedona is, it's a little bit south of that. And that one is for the Yavapai Apache Nation to settle their water right claims. So once those are done, I think Arizona will be done with its Indian water right settlements. And most of the states are. It's just the funding every single year. So I think that was that on the news for you. Sorry I wasn't around for the last couple of weeks to do the weekly updates. It has been insanely busy. Life got in the way. I'll try to get these done every Sunday, or possibly step it up and do a couple per week. That won't take as long to try to produce. But y'all, thank you very much for watching. I like the comments, and we'll try to respond to as many as possible. And if you've got some interesting water news or tips, be sure and let us know what those are. Thanks again. See you next week.
That wraps up this week's Western Water Weekly. All of the stories we covered are reported in full at western-water.com. Be sure to check back next Sunday for our next roundup. Thanks for watching.